This is Sneaker Gears, my name is Levi, and welcome to another Performance Gears comparison, where today we're not only looking at the two shoes in the title, but we're actually looking at the best Zoom Turbo setup from Nike's basketball line. So let's jump right in. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining us. Please consider subscribing down below, and at the end of the video, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Now, back to the Zoom Turbo setup, I want to clarify one thing as well. Zoom Turbo was initially launched with the Kyrie 5. Now, Zoom Turbo was significant because it allowed a zoom pad to cover pretty much the entire forefoot, as well as it had heat molds that allowed it to flex and move with your foot, making a more natural feeling, natural cushion. They carried that to the Zoom Strobel, which essentially I'm calling a Zoom Turbo full-length setup, and that we had with the KD12, as you see behind me. Now, that also extended to the edges, had heat welds that moved with your foot. So essentially, it was a Zoom Turbo. So we're going to be talking about the 5 shoes that had it, but really talking about the top 2. And we'll rule out the first one right now. As in most things, first-generation products are always okay, a hint of what is to come, and that is the Kyrie 5. This brought us Zoom Turbo, and honestly, it was okay. It was better than most of the Kyries beforehand. I would argue the Kyrie 4 with its full-length cush line was very close, and if not better in certain areas, but it was a highlight of what we had to come. Now, this had essentially basic foam in the heel, nothing special, and a full-length Zoom Turbo setup in the forefoot. That Zoom Turbo wasn't very close to the foot like it was in the Zoom Strobel setups on the KD line. So you felt it, but not really. It wasn't that bouncy. It was more of a court feel kind of setup. You had the cushion, it worked well, but it was still a fast-playing shoe. Now, for comparison's sake, in this review, I did bring out my scale, so I do want to give you weights on all of these shoes. The Kyrie 5 comes out at 17.1 ounces, and it's probably a little bit higher because these don't have the insole inside them, mostly because I use our own Velocity Raptor insoles inside of these, which is a full-length bouncy cushion. So I took those out to be fair. So you do want to add a little bit of weight. So that's 17.1. I would almost say, let's call it 17.5 just to be fair. All right, the next shoe to release Zoom Turbo, in which I called full-length Zoom Turbo, and Nike, in very poor marketing terms, called it Zoom Strobel, was the KD12. Now, these are probably the softest implementation of a full-length Zoom because it is closest to your foot. It does have those holes underneath, as I've talked about in other videos, that allows the Zoom to contract and expand. So this feels, one, very bouncy, but two, because it's a thin Zoom unit, you still have some court feel. This is probably the best balanced, but it's very close. So this is something that if you need max cushion, you'll still enjoy, even though it isn't completely a max cushion setup. And if you're looking for court feel, you'll still probably enjoy, even though this isn't the firmest and have the most court feel. Now, I do have a KD13 versus KD12 review, and that was just an initial review because here in middle of 2020 with the stay-at-home protocol and COVID-19, we can't go to the courts yet. So really, I can only tell you about how this is an in-home workouts and dribbling workouts, which is not the same. But I can tell you, kind of just doing jump rope, jumping up and down in this, you can actually bottom out the Zoom bag, especially as a bigger guy, and you feel the court. And as soon as you jump off, as soon as you explode, you feel the Zoom actually kind of giving you that pulse back. So it's kind of cool. You get the court feel, but you get the most cushion. Now, I initially thought these were the lightest because they actually feel the lightest in hand. The material feels much better than what we got on the KD13. It's quite a bit more flexible in your hand, but let's look at the weight. So we're looking at 16.8 ounces. So just over a pound. And again, this is in a size 13. The Kyries were in a size 13. So these are coming in a little bit lighter by, goodness, 0.7 ounces. So it's significant enough. Let's see if this is the lightest one, and let's move on to the next Zoom Turbo. All right, so the little cousin of the Zoom Turbo and Zoom Strobel lineup that not many people knew about or bought, and these dropped like a rock in value. So if you're able to pick one up on the cheap, I hope you did. That's the Zoom Universe. Now, this also used a full-length Zoom Strobel, or a full-length Zoom Turbo setup, as I call it, but it was fully contained. So it was similar to the first Jordan 1 Zoom, except that used kind of a hard cup sole compound. This is still just a regular Phylon midsole, nothing special. There's no holes to the bottom. This had vastly improved traction over the KD12, a tremendous amount of support. So this is elite support, elite traction, and you still have that full-length Zoom Turbo setup. But again, because it does not have room to contract and expand, it's not nearly as bouncy. It does feel a little bit more firm. It's not as well cushioned in the heel, and in the forefoot, you still get the impact protection and you still get a little bit of bounce, but it's nowhere near as bouncy. Now, this is still going to be more catered for those who like court feel, but you still get some bounce and you still have great impact protection. To be honest, this reminds me of a lot of what we had on something like the Harden 3, where it was just a great all-around cushion that was very well balanced, but it does lean a little bit towards those who want court feel. Now, with all the extended rubber outsole and all the support, I'm gonna say this is probably gonna be the heaviest one, but let's take a look. Now, this is a size 12.5, so not apples to apples. This did run a little bit narrow, so absolutely couldn't have done a 12, but it still runs a little bit long. So even a 12.5, I wish I could have done a 12, but just wouldn't fit right. 12.5 fits me just right. Weight-wise, we're at 18.1 ounces, so this is fairly big, but you're getting a lot of shoe. Now for the next shoe, this is one that I really intended to do a full-length review, and I don't know if I did, and I really wanted to call this the wide foot-friendly KD12. That's the Kyrie 6. Now, I did a 13 in this, as I had in every single Kyrie, and honestly, I probably could do a size 12.5, just because even as I torque it down, I still have some play there, which I never had in any other Kyrie. The Kyrie 5 in the 13 fits me amazing. The 4 in the 13 fits amazing. So this, if you're a wide footer, it is wide foot friendly. The mesh on the upper moves really nicely. It molds to your foot. Now, the only negative on this shoe, this does have a little bit less support than what we get out of the Zoom Universe or the KD13. It is on par with what we're getting from the Kyrie 12. So that's why as a wide foot friendly KD12, you're not really getting any more or less support. It's pretty equal. With the rounded outsole, as you can tell here, it always feels a little tippy. I've never personally had any issues, but if you do need support and stability, this is something that it's not 100% confidence inspiring, depending if you've had injuries, but I really do like them. Now, this Zoom Turbo setup, Nike used a little bit less foam, so you're closer to the Zoom bag. You absolutely feel it. You feel the Zoom bag in this. The Zoom Turbo feels incredible. They upgraded the foam to an injected Phylon, which does have a little bit of bounce, and I'm not going to say it's bouncy and it's not super well cushioned, but what that gives you is a nice transition heel to toe where it just is a lot smoother than what we got in the Kyrie 5. It's a lot more comfortable, but it's still a court feel based cushion. Now, this is very close to the Zoom Universe that has a full length zoom, so it gives you an idea. This is still very, very good. The traction I really enjoyed on this and was definitely a step up from the Kyrie 5 as far as it being very consistent. The Kyrie 5, I had to go through 3 different pairs before I found one that the traction worked on court. This was the launch pair. It's my first pair and it worked great. Really like this setup. Zoom wise, you're getting probably 30% less cushion, close to 50% less cushion to the KD13 than you are compared to the KD12 or KD13. So you still feel it, but it's substantially less. You're still getting a more court feel based, but a very high cushion version of a court feel shoe. Now, with the leather, with the Velcro strap, with the additional support, how much does it weigh? And we're coming in at 18.6 ounces. So this is a chunker. You're getting, surprisingly, for a guard playing, court feel based, quick playing shoe, one of the heaviest shoes out there. And what's funny to me is I just had a commenter say he prefers something like a LeBron 17 because he wants a heavy shoe underfoot and he likes the support it provides. And I don't mean to mock your comments. Forgive me if you're watching. And my point being, a heavy shoe doesn't make a shoe more supportive. It is psychological. There's a feeling there. But getting a shoe that's actually more supportive is going to go a longer way to helping you feel more confident and being able to play to your full potential. This is a heavy shoe. And honestly, on foot, it doesn't feel that heavy, and I wouldn't have guessed it either. But at the same time, this is not giving you a max support shoe either way, even though it's the heaviest. So keep that in mind next time you want to feel like you want a heavy shoe. Look at if you were looking for a heavy or just more supportive and get the one that suits you best. Guys, girls, you guessed it. KD13, this beast. After wearing it for probably 3-4 different in-home workouts, some dribbling drills, the width has broken in really nicely. This is a 12.5, and I can say to my wide foot brethren out there, this is much more wide foot friendly than the KD12. Now, I still had to go up that half size, but I don't think I would need to go to a size 13. This actually formed very nicely. Same thing, the Zoom Air, after I played in it a little bit more or used it a little bit more, I wish I could play. It does feel really nice. Now the heel cushion, it does have, I believe, a 24mm heel stack of foam with that Zoom Air. So even though it's not double stacked heel Zoom, it feels really close to the KD12. Honestly, even wearing them left and right foot, it's tough to tell the difference. And I'm wearing this in comparison to the Zoom Universe, or that's over here now, there's substantially more heel cushion. You feel it. Now in the forefoot, in the KD12, if I'm doing jump rope, I can feel the floor almost as I land and push off, with the Zoom kind of flattening out and then expanding and help me up. With this, I don't feel the floor at all, which is good and bad, depends what you're looking for. I feel the Zoom, it feels soft, and then I'm coming back up. So it loses maybe a little bit of bounce, but it's gaining more impact protection. So I can't wait to play with this on court and actually do some full court sprints and see how it actually performs. But you're 100% getting more impact protection. You feel that you have more Zoom. The traction by far is way better, and you can tell it's very similar to the Zoom Universe, except more durable and more spaced out. So this is going to be a better application of it. If you're looking for a Zoom Turbo setup, full length Zoom, honestly, the newest version from Nike, the KD13, is still probably the best one. And thankfully, the Kyrie 6, which is still current and you're still able to get at a great price, is probably number 2. Now, I don't want to forget the weight, so let's put this on the scale and see where it's at. Now, I have told people that I thought the KD12 was much lighter and more flexible. Flexible-wise, I'm 100% right. The materials, it doesn't flex as well in hand. On foot, it does feel pretty good. It moves fairly naturally. But what does it weigh on the scale? Wow. So size 12.5. So this isn't, again, apples to apples, because that was a size 13, comes in at 15.3 ounces. So this is the lightest shoe here. This is probably the second most supportive to the Zoom Universe, with a much stable outsole, much more stable, even with a outrigger heel here in the heel, which reminds me of the Jordan 19. This thing, you're getting some of the highest levels of support, lightest weight, and the most cushion. Just like last year with the KD12, I think the most players and the most people are going to be able to enjoy this shoe. Now, can they do better on the upper as far as the materials used? Yep. Can they do even more to lighten it up? I think so. And I just want to see some better colorways. This one's a little boring, but I'm kind of boring, so I like it. Overall, even with massive Zoom stacks like what they have on the LeBron 17, with the Zoom X foam cushioning from the running line, hoping maybe that comes to the basketball, React foam, the Zoom Turbo, or full length Zoom Turbo, or Zoom Strobel, is my personal favorite cushioning setup to use, and I love bringing it with. Now, you may have noticed the shoe I did not have out here is going to be the Kobe 5 Pro Tro, and the reason for that is, honestly guys, it's Kobe. The Kobe 5 Pro Tro has some of the most bounce in the forefoot. The heel cushion has the most softest implementation of it. And being a Kobe, there is absolutely a high level of sentimental value and playing in it. So I'm going to say it's the absolute best, but I cannot bring it out and be honest with you and comparative with facts saying this is why it's better. It's a Kobe. It fits my foot amazing. You feel the zoom. I would put it as the best shoe, but take that with a grain of salt, because obviously losing Kobe this year, that has a closer place to my heart. I hope they release more Kobe 5 Pro Tros, and I can tell you, if you have not experienced Zoom Turbo, that's one of the best implementations of it, where you're getting a little more feel of the zoom than you are on even the Kyrie 6. Maybe it's not as much as the KD13, but you're getting a softer heel foam, and you're getting a wider, more flat, more stable base that's a lot more supportive, even though it is a low top. So absolutely fantastic shoe. Sorry I didn't bring it out, guys, but with everything that's happened this year, Kobe's are Kobe's. So that has taken up a whole new level, kind of like watching The Last Dance and seeing how the Jordan shoes are on another level. In some aspects, it is like that, where you do want to separate that emotional or sentimental value and feel from the actual performance and what it's going to do for you. So I always try to bring to you comparisons and facts, and not just what I think is the best, because it's my personal taste. So that's why I didn't look at the Kobe 5, but I can definitely recommend it. If you found that video helpful or you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It does help out. You can comment down below if you guys have any questions or wanted me to see compare any of these shoes in deeper aspects. I'm more than happy to. If you haven't already checked out, we are doing our running gears channel, where I'm doing that once a week, and we're getting more into running shoes, as well as we're putting some new episodes every week on tech gears, as my experience is a lot in the technical background with a lot of computers and working at Apple and Tesla. So those are my passions. If you guys haven't checked those out, really appreciate it if you jump in it, watch those, and just give me your thoughts and comments. This is Levi with Sneaky Gears. I really appreciate you guys, and I will come at you later.